All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're a few folks short of a quorum, but we have a few things that we can cover, and hopefully while we're covering those, folks will show up. First, I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July and hope you had a good celebration and got an opportunity to be thankful for and think about the great country that we live in, and let that motivate your participation in these processes. Northern, anything to opening remarks? Rich?
Nope.
Bob?
I'm good. All good.
Jeff, you had to.
So Erica is out sick today, so please make sure you do your best to speak into the microphone because she's going to have to watch the video to do the minutes.
Thank you. Rankin, good to see you yesterday.
Same here.
Came all the way from the eastern part of the county up to the northern part of the county. Good deal. All right, we're going to dispense with the approval of the minutes. They're not ready. Are there any members in public comments from members in the audience? Ms. Radner, 3 minutes, please.
Hi. Good afternoon, Alex Rudd, Kendall County. Once again, I appreciate your hard work very much. I could not attend the last meeting due to schedule conflict, but I did review the video. There are a few key concerns I want to address today, and I know you've gone through the process and you're getting close to present. I feel we're losing the opportunity to make sure that I've expressed my concerns about this. Thoroughfare plans were discussed once again. These included 2 major routes one was going through Copper Creek to Cascade Caverns, another one along Spring Creek Road. Bitsy and Northern expressed some very valid concerns, mentioning our drought that became very serious, very, very serious, and we're still in it. It's not over, as well as a spill risk in that area. I've been reviewing several reports. This is a copy of the Wet Rock report, which I have my own copy. This green area is showing the recharge zones of the Trinity. There's also a video that I sent you a copy of from Cow Creek. It's 7 years old. It explains how fragile the Trinity is. It has a very low recharge coefficient of only 4 to 6%. That's the percentage of rain that ends up in the groundwater. Very unpredictable geology, very slow to recharge, unlike the Edwards. The water moves, and you cannot even predict accurately the groundwater levels and the response to severe drought. I'm actually seeing this in the area where I live, and according to Schwope Wells, we still have a serious problem. We had a respite with the rain. According to the woman from Schwope who's been there a long time, she said it wasn't even enough to get the dust off the ground. Their phones are still ringing off the hook. In recent weeks, we saw a sudden acute turn for the worse. Suddenly, the Guadalupe was below 5% normal. The Frio was at 0 flow up in Concan. Cibolo Creek was a puddle. Again, the wells were a very serious condition, and I was warned to stop using water and prepare for the worst just in case. And again, like I said this morning, she said it really hasn't gotten any better. In fact, our phones continue to ring. The city appears unwilling to acknowledge how serious this could become. And I know this is the Transportation Committee. You are not the Water Committee. However, you have an opportunity to present to the city the need to protect our recharge. We have to address that. 4 to 6% recharge coefficient, to me, means that every square foot of recharge is precious. We have to protect it. And here, our area in the southeast quadrant near Cascade Caverns, these are caves. Not only is this area vulnerable to losing recharge capacity, it's also vulnerable to spills. We have to emphasize this and make the city painfully aware. We cannot become a county with water refugees paying $1,000 or more a month for trucked-in water, simply to satisfy the needs of developers who will pounce on these new thoroughfare routes and further developed area. Every new high-density development is another nail in the coffin We have to change our approach. Kendall County is not meant for high-density development, and it cannot be a sustainable path. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rudd. Any other members of the audience?
May I speak?
Yes. Let's see. Is that Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes, Ms. McCarthy.
Thank you. Wanda McCarthy, Ammon Road. Thanks for the opportunity to speak on Zoom today. Thank you, Alex, and for your comments. I concur. Thank you to Bitsy and Northern in the previous meetings. I have a request that's a little different. If you could agree to respond to some of my questions later in my commentary, I would appreciate it. Several months ago, I suggested a fairly expensive but a definite paradigm shift of thinking and solving the ever-increasing Highway 46 traffic problem, trying to negotiate their way to I-10. A traffic problem that was exacerbated by the placing of schools in a cluster, and the problem that is still being compounded by the City of Bernie's continuous zoning approval and utility provision for a select few high-density developments. The city is still in the process of changing the face of the county by providing these services way out in the county, way past their ETJ. At the time that I made the proposal, Mr. Durden indicated that this item, much like any of the others that were brought by the citizens or the community or the committee itself, it would be considered in your process, and so far it has not been presented. Comments in passing by a few members on the board appears that you either had a pre-meeting or discussions about that presentation, because I've heard comments about, well, that's bridge work would be way too expensive to even consider. And I ask now that you share, if there was a pre-meeting, that the public be told what that commentary was, or if not, if someone on the committee, maybe Mr. Kite, would share what his estimate of what that cost would be per mile or so forth. Would you be willing to answer that?
Go ahead and finish your comments, and we'll come back to your question,
Okay.
please.
Along that idea, I was wondering if the committee was aware of the price per square foot that was paid to Dana Green, the developer of Ranches of Creekside, by TxDOT 4 years ago for reservation of right-of-way, way before this boom in real estate occurred. My understanding, it was $15 per square foot for a Highway 46 right-of-way. That reservation is less than a mile from the lines on the map that city has for the entire east and specifically the southeast quadrant. So if a proposed, for instance, 300-foot right-of-way for a looping situation occurred, that's 36 acres per mile. And if you went for what TxDOT has already paid for reservation of right-of-way, that's $23 million a mile just to obtain right-of-way. Because you can be assured that once the precedent has been set that $15 a square foot for 46 right-of-way is agreeable to TxDOT, that the landowners under those maps are going to want something consideration in the same game plan. So that's just, if that was consistent, $23 million a mile, that would just be for right-of-way, and including most of that topography on the entire east side of the county would be covering karsts and low water crossings where bridge work would already be required.
Ms. McCarthy, you're over 4 minutes now. Can you wrap it up?
No, I would just appreciate a response to my request.
Okay. Northern, did we cover that Was it on a sheet or?
Yes, we did. We covered the extension to I-10. It was part of the crowdsourcing documents, and it was not included because TxDOT does not allow
connection to the frontage
connections
road
to the access road within close proximity to another one.
Did you understand that, Ms. McCarthy?
I understand that the answer to my question of how much it would cost has not been answered.
Okay, but I want to make sure you understand. We did consider your suggestion. It was rejected. Nothing personal, just that was the wisdom of the group. As far as the cost, you want to know how much it costs per square foot for a bridge? Is that what your question was?
Or by mile, either
Okay.
way.
Well, I think per square foot probably would be the best because they're different widths. John, do you have a handle on that, or Jeff? What are we
Yeah,
talking
I
about?
did the proposal she had to extend across and tie into Herb Road and then elevate it all the way to I-10. That was $100 million, not including the ties into 46 and the 10. Now, you can't get into 10 because there's interchanges too close together and you're in between them.
Right.
So it wouldn't work. So you're talking, you're probably talking about close to $150, $160 million to do something like that.
Were you able-
Sorry,
go ahead.
$100 a square foot was the number I've been told for a long time for bridges, but with the
It's-
last 6 months
It's
to a
gone
year,
up.
it's probably $150, $200
Yeah,
square foot.
It's more than $100 square foot.
Ms. McCarthy, did you hear what John had to say and what Jeff had to say?
I did.
Okay.
Thank you for answering the question.
All right, very good. Thank you, Ms. McCarthy. Anybody else on the Zoom call want to make a statement or comments at this point? Ms. Gerhart, you have your hand up. Oh, I'm sorry. Thought that was your hand, Ms. Gerhart. Don't see anybody else, so we will go ahead and proceed on. John, you have given us a suggestion here at River Road
Yeah.
and Highway 46. Everybody should have a copy of it. It looks like this. And John had mentioned this at the last time, and this is what's on your agenda as the final committee source project suggestion. So, John, I'm going to hand it off to you to explain what your drawing depicts there.
Well, what this is right now, every time we get a quick rain, it floods down there at the intersection of 46 and Herf and Esser. And so what I was looking at is if you were to take 46 and pull it up pretty close to the Longhorn restaurant there, cafe, what you're doing is you're skirting the high grounds and crossing Esser Road and then going on and tying back into 46. All that would be above the high water of the Cibolo Creek there. So what you'd have to do is, and it shows there, it's skirting and crossing Esser Road and then going on back down to 46 towards the west. Now, what you'd have to do then on the existing Herf Road is you would have to come across and raise it up. Now, what you're doing is you're still going to flood Herf Road at Cibolo Creek. You'll hold that crossing and then you'll climb up from there up to where it ties into Esser Road. So that now you'll have a high water route all the way along 46. And then when you redo the part of Herf Road that's left, it would push it off to the west to where you would have, as you're going north, you would have a right turn lane which would utilize the old existing bridge that's there now. It would go to make a right turn and then it would make a run and tie into 46. Now, what you can do here, and it would sure make things work better, let's go to 46 to the west side of Esser Road. There you would have,
Say again, going where?
we're going east.
Okay,
In other words, go west of Esser Road for the traffic going east on 46. You would have one lane that goes a left turn lane. You would have one lane that goes straight ahead and one a right turn lane. Now, from Esser Road, you would have a right turn onto River Road going west. Okay. Now, here, if you would take the single lane going east, crossing Herf Road, then on the east side of Esser Road, you've got a single lane. You could then take the right turn lane from northbound Herf Road, and it would have a complete free entrance to where you'd have two lanes in going out 46. In other words, one lane would be coming from 46 traveling east, and one lane would be from Herf Road traveling north and then turning east. So you would have just a free flow lane there. And then on the existing bridge on the west side, you would have two lanes going north. One would be a left turn lane to 46 going west. One lane would be a straight through lane. And then from Esser Road on the north, it would come through with two full lanes. And then you would have a left turn lane from Esser onto 46. So it would pretty much free up that interchange. Now, you're still going to be flooded in the lower part, maybe once or twice a year. But so far as 46, it would be open all the time.
okay. I have a couple of questions.
Okay?
So if you're coming, I'll call it north on Herf Road,
Okay.
how do you go west on River Road?
Okay. There, the existing bridge that was there, the old existing bridge would be widened to the west, upstream. And that's where you would have, as you're going north, you're talking about going north on Herf Road?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. You would utilize the widened old bridge, and it would have one lane going north to Esser Road, one lane turning left onto 46 going west, and then you would have two lanes going south. And all of these would have to come together south of here down by the...
Okay, so where the upstream bridge is right now, that's actually two-way traffic
That would be,
under this proposal.
it would, under this proposal, it would be two-way traffic.
Okay, and this downstream bridge would still be one way, but it would only go to eastbound 46.
Eastbound 46,
Okay.
correct.
The other question I have is if you're coming south on Esser,
Yeah,
I'm worried about that, about the angle of the turn there. I mean, what we have right now, there was a concern that it wasn't adequate or really desirable for 18-wheelers. It looks like what we've got is a sharper intersection now.
well, no. What you do is start out up where the hike and bike trail is and widen Esser Road to where you would have one lane going north. You would have a left turn lane, and you would have two lanes going south. Okay, there should be adequate left turn radius in there. What you wouldn't have is what they have now. They've got a sharp tongue as you're going east on 46 and you want to turn north on Esser. There's a tongue sticking out there that you have to go around. Now, this would give you an adequate radius for a left turn.
Okay. But it does require right-of-way from the nursing home and from the park.
Most of that's city right away already. It may require just a smidgen from the nursing home. Well, it probably would as you go further west. But what you would have is you would have a long left turn lane, because right now what's happening is if you want to turn left, that backs the traffic all the way up into the through lanes and blocks them. This way there wouldn't be no blockage.
All right, I understand. Other questions and conversation?
Well, I
Is
guess
this I'm sorry, Don, excuse me. Is this an alternative to some of the other proposals we've had, and we're just going to bundle up a variety of proposals for that particular intersection?
I would say it's a variation on some of the, and we have had several variations from a roundabout to realignment to additional lanes. And I think we passed several of those along for.
But we haven't kicked anything out.
No,
We're just-
and this is one more
More
variation.
imagination. Okay, thank you.
And I don't know that we want to adopt it today. I think it'd be good if we collectively understood what it is. Northern will reduce it to a project sheet once we have a full quorum, then we'll consider it for that at that
Well,
time.
and with this, also, last time talked about extending Fry Street to 46. That way you've got a new high water crossing. And so that the whatever you do at Esser and 46 and Herf, you would change the grade to meet this higher level up here that's open. But then if you did something down at Fry Street, you would now have a high water route all the way through town. Now, you could do it in pieces. One piece would be from Fry Street, extension up to 46. And then if you would like to continue on, there's a channel up there that goes and ties into Tyson and Plant Street. And you could follow that channel from River Road up there and have a complete from Tapperwine Road all the way to the south boundary of Kendall County by using Old San Antonio Road, Cascade Caverns, Old Fredericksburg Road, and so on.
Now, we considered that at the last meeting, right, Northern? Phase 1 and Phase 2. I don't know that you had a detailed map, but I think we have one of those now that I'll give you.
Yes, it's in the package for today.
Okay.
And I gave you a copy of this last one if you want.
Yeah, I'll give it to Northern. She can put it on a project sheet.
Did I give you your copy?
Well, we have not established any additional quorum, co-chair. So I think what we ought to do is move to the assignments on the crowdsourced project sheets.
Okay.
At your place, there should be a new set of project sheets that Northern has gone through our comments. These are the ones, is this all of them that have been recommended, Northern? Or
This
these?
could be done.
I believe so. I sent everyone an electronic copy earlier before the meeting. What you have here is from Sunday night. What I emailed you today is the stuff I've done from Sunday to today, which is mainly just cleaning up the maps. In the process of going through everything, I found two that I just could not find any reference to in my notes, us coming to a resolution. One was Sheep Dip, which we just talked about, and the other one was the Kratesburg crossing of the Guadalupe. I cannot find that in the notes. I can't find what we decided to do about that. Other than that, these are the ones that we
Yes, you just,
combined. We moved forward, ones that need a narrative, ones I need people to check the narrative on. So,
Well, I'd like to just kind of go through those. If you have your thing there, let's just kind of, I mean, I don't want to get into the weeds on this, but
did she say Fredericksburg Road at Guadalupe River? No.
no.
No,
Kratesburg.
Kratesburg.
Oh, Kratesburg.
different bird.
Other bird.
Yeah, that's important.
For example, the second sheet, it's project ID number or database reference number 2. Has to do with Cascade Caverns Road coming to Ranch Drive. We need a narrative there. Did we have anybody assigned to do that?
No. It was kind of said in the meeting, but I did not get a chance to go back and listen to what you guys had said yet.
Was that one that Bobby and Johnny were talking about?
Yes, it had been
Because
reduced.
we were talking about the roundabout, and does that road need to look the same all the way through? Isn't that what?
I know it had been reduced to 2 lanes rather than
Correct.
4.
Yes.
And I think we said it in the meeting.
And then nothing,
Yeah, I mean,
Happened
I
after
can
that.
go back and just
No, that's what we talked about.
get what we said from the meeting.
The city's already proposed something up to Buckskin, and then there was a dead space between Buckskin and Ranch entering, and that's what we're talking about there. It needs to be consistent all the way through.
Okay, we'll try to get Bob here, Jonah, to do one of those to do that narrative. Moving on. If you see your name under the recommendation detail or someplace else, we're gonna, I know I've got a few there, and Bryce, you have some.
yeah, Jeff and I are talking about those. The Blanco Road diet, and then the other one was the connection between Bentwood and Champion Heights. The other ones were the extension of Champion Boulevard is a greenfield project, and that's what we've been steering away from anyway.
Yeah.
So
I think that goes into a narrative that deals with all of that.
okay, so those two then, the Blanco Road diet and the connection between Bentwood and Champion Heights are not necessarily greenfield projects. So,
Right.
well, Blanco Road diet isn't. It's a thinning. So we'll have that collectively to Northern.
And if my graphics don't match what, I was just trying to make a graphic based on memory. If it's not what your narrative is saying, please let me know.
Northern on the I-10 project,
The arrows.
up there by the park.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we had eliminated that access road,
The
or the frontage road,
which park? The Ranger Creek one or the one by Joshua Springs?
by Joshua Springs.
Josh, yeah, we eliminated that.
I think we left the exit ramp.
The eastbound exit and eastbound frontage.
Right.
We left the exit ramp, we left the, underneath the bridge.
Right, we were gonna make a,
The trailers and trucks can't get through there.
and I think I had agreed to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one.
And then there's some on Highway 46 East, the roundabouts. It says I'm gonna write that. Is that correct?
Do what?
It does say that.
What page number are you on?
Oh, the number is real small. It's
Sorry.
19.
What was the number?
Number 19 in the bottom right-hand corner, if my eyes aren't telling me the truth.
Yep, that's right.
Let me find that.
Let's pull it back.
I will make that number bigger.
Well, okay, if you're talking about on 46 at Esperanza and Champion and what else? The other
One at Champion, one at Turf Ranch,
And one at Copper
Roundabout.
Creek.
and one at Copper
Roundabout
Creek.
is not good on a through highway.
Okay, well, I've agreed to make the case, for better or worse.
Here, I found it. Because a roundabout, they're really only good at 20, 25 mile an hour. And
That was the point, I think.
Yeah, I think the point was you'd never get below 20 or 25 miles.
Yeah, there's no
Keep
signal.
moving instead of stopping every 150 yards.
Sometimes I think the signals are trying to get us. 7 roundabout.
Yeah, the area that you were talking about, Bryce, that Adler Road, that's ID number 25, and I'd agree to write that narrative.
You did, oh, that's the Adler Road, extension thoroughfare thing.
Right.
The one I was talking about was Champion Boulevard extension. to the end of Esperanza,
Okay.
but I don't know, is that something that I don't feel like we even talked about that as a committee.
We
We talked about it a couple
This one?
times, I believe.
Yeah.
So it
champion,
is something we want to do.
I don't recall making an answer.
Do you have an ID number on it?
30.
Was that a committee source or crowd source?
Both, I believe.
Bryce.
What number is it?
30. And I did find a duplicate as I was going through them. Let me make sure that, yeah, it's still number 30.
Interesting, it looks different.
Yeah.
Make these numbers.
I did.
I can help the old man here.
No problem.
I don't see it in my list of those that made the cut.
Says Bryce to write it.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because I don't feel like I guess because Bryce never wrote it, that we didn't talk about it.
I remember we debated it. Let me see.
Because there were so many projects right there. There were connections from Bentwood to Esperanza, from Bentwood to Champion Heights, from Champion Heights out to the end of Esperanza.
I think I remember the suggestion was to just do a generic, we would like to connect this and this some way.
That's right.
Well, but we also talked about that whole areas in the floodplains, you know, that
Yeah.
little creek right alongside of it.
Be building one of John's expensive bridges there.
They do it in Louisiana.
So,
And it was number 30, you say?
Yeah.
Still,
I don't see the point of it.
I don't even find that number in any of my stacks.
it's in the Thoroughfare Plan, right?
Yes, it's a roadway that's on our thoroughfare plan.
I know this is riveting for y'all out in the audience. Apologize.
So that is in the floodplain right there at the end of Champion Boulevard? Yeah.
Yeah, the plan is would it would hug that western edge of that property,
You know,
which is not green.
I didn't bring my house.
You have this green.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it on my computer too.
It gets in the
Okay.
But on the thoroughfare plan, Champion extends up, I think it picks up Bentwood. I'm not
Yeah,
quite,
it
does it pick up
extends,
Bentwood?
it extends up and tees into the future Adler on our
Tees in right
on the
here.
thoroughfare plan.
Yeah.
It was the connection
I
from,
thought you were looking for that one. in the
yes,
material.
right.
Got it.
We'd combined, for this one, we'd combined
There were several,
several.
Right.
this is the combination of several.
Yeah, it was one of those that had spider webs going all over the place.
Yeah.
Northern, let me ask you, the numbers that are on the new list here, do those correspond to the numbers?
No,
Oh.
if you see, supported by crowdsourcing comments numbers,
Okay, got it.
those will lead you back to the crowdsourcing comments that supported that,
Okay, very good. That's why I couldn't find it.
which is not on yours because I connected them later. There we go. 21, or 121, 42, 16, 43, 117.
Some of these that are in sequential order are in the same part of the county and others are spread throughout, not to create more work, but like if we knew that like pages 1 through 9 is in this part of the county, it could be.
I can change the number, the reference number. I can't change where it is in the database, but the number is something I entered myself.
Okay.
So if, we say, okay, number 30 goes behind number 2,
That's what I'm
then I
getting.
can change the
Yeah,
reference
this is
number.
from this month.
It's just easier to see all
Yeah.
the suggestions, the crowdsourcing suggestions in the same part of the county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't you think that the way that City Park Road is now is a calming, and it's narrow and it's got trees all the way over the canopy? Why not leave it alone?
Well, I've agreed to write that up, and that's to give the pros and cons about doing something.
The issue is just you have, frankly, foolish young kids that are drag racing essentially on there at times. It's rare, but it happens, and it's a little sketchy because there are also people walking along there sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, Bryce and
Yep.
I, and who else has stuff to write? Norman? Marcus, and maybe Bobby and Jonah. I think you've done Best Street, right?
Yes.
What I'd like for you to do is on that one, when you take, you only have a red line on Best, you're calling it improvements to Best Street. But in fact, what we were doing was asking for speed humps on as well, water. And
Except
half
for
of one.
Blanco Road.
Okay.
So if you can put those lines there with the arrow
Yep.
on those, the northern block of Wanda, between Highland and the HEB entrance,
Okay.
and both all the way through Water Street,
Okay.
north and south of Best.
So I would ask that y'all review those that Northern sent you on the KCB FOTC website or email.
Yeah. I think I sent it, those of you who use your own email, I sent it to that. If you did not get a email today, please let me know, and I will send it to you again.
One of the ways that I'm hoping that we're going to, I'll lay out what my suggestion is for how do we get to the short and long-term projects, is that we look at these once we get them clean and we get the narratives written and people are happy with them, then we're just going to vote. And the top 10 vote getters are going to, a certain number, there'll be a priority like we did on the intersections. And that will go into the project recommendations. My hope, and Bob and I discussed this briefly here, is that we're going to be through with this process, including approval of the report, no later than the last or the third Tuesday in September.
Oh, September.
That means we have about 4 more meetings. And if we're running short on that we'll double up on our meetings. But we need to get through with this stuff and wrap it up. In your packet today is the final policy narrative that the subcommittee's been working on. There were a few little changes that John made, suggestions to Bobby. I think Bobby accepted most of those. We're going to restructure that to get rid of the outline and the Roman numeral kind of narrative and turn it into more of a report. And hopefully you will have that at your next meeting or before your next meeting so you can take a look at that.
Okay, well, what are we gonna do with, like, I'm looking at number 32 here, which is a roundabout at Blanco, Esser, and Bentwood.
Is that on the stuff that is in your packet today?
Yeah, it's number 32,
Well,
33. And that's a good roundabout. I'll look at to make sure it would work.
I think that's one of them, John, that we're going to vote on. That there's an updated version of this that Northern sent out this morning. Yeah, that I didn't have time to reproduce. But once we get all of these updated and nobody has any comments on them. These are the ones that made the cut to go forward. And then we will sort these into long and short-term buckets and vote on them as far as priorities.
Yeah, that one didn't change. It's the very same, just changed the map to make it cleaner.
Well, didn't we, I see one at, Detail Corn.
Yeah, that one I thought came out.
I thought we took.
I thought it stayed in. The Deeds Elkhorn roundabout that they got approved from TxDOT? That one?
Is that, no, the
No.
Deeds Elkhorn one that you show is in
Fairlands Parkway and Detail Corn.
That
It's
one.
number
No.
32.
number 32?
Yeah. But I thought we talked about that, and the people in Fair Oaks didn't want the thing right in their backyard.
This one was they got it approved through TxDOT, 80% funded. It did not use any additional right-of-way. It was all within their right-of-way. I believe,
That's this one right here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do think this one did go forward. It's within the city of Fair Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
There was a Deeds Elkhorn roundabout that was not in the city of Fair Oaks. It was in the San Antonio ETJ in Bexar County that we cut.
Okay.
They passed on this one previously.
Didn't the city of Fair Oaks turn that down, but they've changed their minds now?
I believe they have.
Okay.
We think that may be.
Bobby and Marcus can better answer that.
Okay.
So, any suggestions, comments about wrapping this up, processes otherwise? Bob?
No, but that, by saying we're going to finish by the end of September, that's already slippage on our schedule, and we've got to make sure that really is, we accomplish it. So we need to stay focused. We need to hit our marks and get done. We've got a lot of prioritization and voting yet to do, so please attend.
Well, you said something along the lines of top 10, but I assume all of the ideas still end up in some version of the final report.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because also even the top 10s could be the top 10 most expensive. See
That's
what happens.
true. At the next meeting, we will also hear from the pedestrian trails subcommittee, and hopefully they'll have a report for us to.
Yeah, we're making great progress. We're meeting this Friday to make sure that we're all perfectly aligned. I'm hoping or intending to get something to you guys before the weekend before our next meeting. So like, Thursday or Friday, so people can have some time just to
That would
take
be
a quick
helpful.
review. And obviously what we're doing is we're presenting some policy recommendations that I would think of as probably fairly firm, but in terms of the trail maps, it definitely is a vision, Yes, some things are going to probably be ones that people would want to prioritize as soon as possible, but a lot of it is more aspirational and intended to help people think about what the future could be with a forward-looking, trail-oriented transportation strategy.
Awesome.
Ben, does that impact where we are with our policy recommendations, or do you have a separate policy recommendation document?
So there are some elements that I'd recommended during our last discussion, and I'm not sure if they made it in. Do you want me to finish?
You go ahead.
Okay. So, but we spoke about it, and I think Northern and I spoke about it, but the idea of we have this policy that we've already agreed upon, and let's not disrupt that. Let's bring this separately and have everybody look at it, and then if that's passed, well, then basically we can just combine the two, merge them together, so that we're not, disrupting what's already been approved. Is that fair?
Yeah, are you talking specifically about the Sentinel landscape, or are you talking about another policy related
Well,
to trails in general?
So deadlines are very motivating. So our group hit into high gear, and basically we started seeing some other opportunities to encourage some policy adoption or recommendations.
Okay.
And so, yeah, those will show up. I can let you preview those if you'd like to in the near term.
No, bring it to the committee, and
Okay.
I don't want to do any more
Fair enough.
halfway steps.
Fair enough. Sounds good. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do. But the other thing too, Rich, is also we are thinking in terms of BISD in this regard as well. But when you do see the final product, we'll definitely, welcome you to weigh in with any
Yeah, because
recommendations.
there was a lot of good discussions on that subcommittee back then about, access to schools to avoid cars.
Right, safe routes, things like that.
Yes.
Yep.
Don, I have two more questions. One, the city is obviously moving in a parallel manner on some of their projects. When we look at these projects as a committee, will we know which ones the city is, I assume we'll find out from Jeff, which ones the cities are heavily favorable towards? So, it kind of helps our decision if the city's already decided to move forward to them.
Yeah, I think that's information. Obviously, there are two drainage structures on Adler Road that the city and the county are cooperating on. There's a bridge on Old San Antonio Road, which is part of both of those are parts of these. But any other information, Jeff, that you want to?
Sure. So staff has provided several roadway projects and intersection projects to city council for discussion. We've had 5 or 6 meetings with city council so far discussing a possible bond election. So that's something council will decide in August for potential November bond. But there's been conversations about Adler Road and some of the other roadways.
And I commend the city for not making this a linear, y'all finish that and then we'll start on considering projects. There's no reason they can't work, at least parallel.
Yeah, they're all projects that we've discussed in here.
Well, I guess it goes back to knowing what their thought process is we have to make a decision whether it's a high priority, low priority, if they're moving forward regardless. And then the last thing is, are protocols related to voting by Zoom? As we get down to the crunch and making some decisions, are we allowed to vote by Zoom as part of our quorum?
Sure. That's a good question.
I don't know that the committee has decided. I certainly don't have objections to that. I think my personal view is if people want to participate by Zoom, we've had a couple of 3 years practice at it, and nobody should feel hoodwinked because their participation was via Zoom. So
It's important that we have a quorum so that we don't
Yes.
bog
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, no, I concur. Everybody's pretty weighed in. They've been involved for a couple of years on this stuff. And if they can't be here physically, then we still need their input. And back to your first question, I just want to emphasize again, if the city has made a decision to go forward on a project, we have agreed as a committee to say, well, fine, it's done. We don't need to waste our breath talking about it. If they haven't, the projects they're considering, thankfully, thanks to Jeff, they are aware of our discussions. They're aware of the ideas that are bubbling up near the top that are the easiest for us to all gather around a consensus feeling and that solve the most problems. So those are there. I think we do need to weigh in and say we support that, even though we think they're already leaning that way. I think that's pretty important. But ultimately, even if we knew they weren't, if this committee, trying to be just the voice of the people without consultants and without the governmental agencies having us under their thumb, if we say something's a good idea, we already know the city doesn't like it, that is not a reason not to make a recommendation. If this committee wants to say it's good, that's what we ought to do.
Thank you.
Well, since we don't have a quorum, we really can't take any action. So I think we'll move into the final opportunity for public comment and adjourn shortly thereafter. Anybody in the audience? Ms. Rudd? Round 2.
Yes, thank you. I caught a few words about my favorite topic, item 33, crossing the Guadalupe off Kreuzberg. That was a question I had. I know I've heard some reassurances from various officials who I respect that it's not an item. However, it is a big deal to me and many of my neighbors in our entire community. Do we know the disposition of that item?
I'm looking right now.
shut that down.
Keep going.
That's all. That's
Okay.
my question. That's the one thing I want to know, and I do appreciate your
number it
efforts to
She said
answer.
33.
It's not
It's
33.
not 33. In the new system.
Ms. Red, my memory is not what it used to be, but my recollection was similar to yours. I thought it was projected. But I just what I
Okay.
thought.
I actually was
I'm
not
not speaking
present.
with any sense of authority or certainty here.
That's okay. And I'll patiently wait.
All these
I
numbers
mean,
are
we may not be able to find the answer today, but I really do need to know
it's new set numbers.
just what the committee said about it. I know there's many other things to look out for. I was not present at that meeting where it was discussed.
I don't have anything in my notes. I had nothing scribbled on the,
Well, you know, I've always pushed that
I
bridge.
can wait if you guys
I've
don't
always
have
put-
it.
You know, I don't see it in here.
Yeah.
I don't see it in here.
Which means it didn't move forward.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that's one of the important areas, because if you're sitting there in a loop on this side and you want to go to the other side, you've got to come all the way back down through Bernie. And if that one bridge could be in place and it ties into Thomas Road, if I remember right, on the other side.
It would go to FM 3351,
And then
which is a
ties it
highway.
FM, well, I mean, it ties into the schools you have there in Bergheim, it ties into the fire department that you got there.
It also makes our quiet rural residential area
Hey, it's
a connector
it's
between two
safety.
highways.
a safety thing to me.
Well, sir, I have great respect for you and your experience, but it would change the entire community. People moved out there because they want to be there. They do not want to be a connector between two highways. And you would be dealing with all the issues that I brought up months ago, my photos, my cardboard, my pictures. We would be right back to square one.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, TxDOT is not interested in making that a highway. It would always stay a county road.
With traffic between two highways. It would be connecting.
Well,
My point's not to argue with you, but you have
I don't
FM
think-
3351, which is a highway with trucks and tankers, and then you have 474, which is also a highway with tankers and trucks, and you have this shortcut. People would use it.
Well, I don't,
Ms. Rudd,
looking at that road, that road, I don't think people are going to use that as a shortcut.
I don't see that we approved it here.
Okay,
I don't believe it's in the plan.
okay. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Kite. I appreciate your input. Thank you so much. I know this is a difficult job for all of us. Thank you.
and I will say, I also emailed Bitsy about it because I believe it also came out of their subcommittee. So she may have memory of it as well. I don't,
We've talked about it
nothing.
before.
in my
If
notes.
there's something different than that, we will let you know. But right now, I don't see it. Other members of the public have any comments here in the audience? Anybody? Ms. McCarthy, round two.
I believe Denise had her hand up first, so
Okay,
I'm going
well,
to relinquish.
We'll let Mrs. Deaver go first then.
Thank you.
You have the floor.
Hi, Denise Deaver. I have a couple of cleanup things since everyone is moving towards the end here. Just to let y'all know, the Zoom meeting lost most of your audio. A lot of static in the background. It actually cleared up once Alex took the microphone for public comments quite a bit. So you may have a microphone that's got a bad connection somewhere in the room. On from that, I'm concerned about historic information being available into the future. You have a website that I believe is hosted by a elected official at the moment through his personal funds. I don't believe any entity owns the website that is a governmental body that will keep this information into the future. And the work that has been put into that website by Northern is beyond what most governmental bodies would create. And I believe in the future, we may be looking at additional needs for citizens' input, and I would hate to lose that. I'd like to add to that also that I have some regrets that Dr. Vinny's information was only on video. It's very compelling on video, but it's not reduced to writing, so I'm afraid it's going to be lost, like so much was lost from the first Citizens Transportation Committee when they had tons of information but wasn't reduced to a report. So please see what the committee feels about addressing those issues, and I look forward to hearing about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Deaver. Okay, Ms. McCarthy.
Thank you. I had another question, and I posed this last time when the discussion was made of Mr. Kite's presentation of a high-rise around the River Road issue that was created building a bridge 9 feet too short. Will the options that he's presented still allow for a roundabout to be used in that area? I don't believe I heard an answer to that question last time we talked or during the current meeting when you brought it up again.
My understanding of the current option or variation that was presented today, it does not facilitate the use of a roundabout at that intersection.
Okay. And another question is, are you aware, I think that the city came out in the paper last week that they're using their little slush fund of impact fees to purchase property way out in the county past their ETJ in order to supplement high density development with, again, our who would it be, Lookout Group, rather than using those same funds to purchase property right in the city. As I mentioned before, and others I've mentioned, purchasing the land right at Herf and Esser, where a huge impact would be made for a lot of people in the city and the county versus buying land that benefits only a high-density developer. And I didn't know if y'all were aware of that, but as a citizens committee, I was hoping that any encouragement you could be making of buying that corner would be much better spent money for an impact fee for the county and the city. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's that.
I'm not aware of any of that. I don't know if any of the members are aware.
I don't know what she's talking about.
I didn't see anything reported about slush fund. I assume that's your version of it.
So I know the water utility is looking to purchase a property to build a second connection point to the GBRA line that kind of runs cross country, and I believe that's what she's talking about.
Okay.
Where's it at?
Anything you can say about it, Bryce? I mean, some things you can talk about.
No.
Okay. All right. Anybody else on the website like to say anything? Ms. McCarthy, your hand's up again, or is that just a leftover from your first statement? It's down.
So in regard to Denise's concern, I'm personally not concerned that Mayor Handron's going to suddenly pull the plug on the website at all. And certainly Northern probably has all the hard stuff on her computer anyways. But, I mean, certainly an archived copy of the website could be created and housed perhaps at the county at some point.
Maybe, yeah. And the database, I own it. It's mine. So.
I think it's a
Or just gonna
legitimate
pull the plug.
concern that we should address, and we should. I mean, a lot of the public has participated, and I don't think that. I mean,
It could go along with that policy continuation
The advocacy,
discussion
yeah.
that we had, that group, advocacy group or whatever. I think it needs to definitely stay out there.
Yeah, I agree. We made a commitment from the very first meeting that we were going to be open and transparent and inclusive and have detailed minutes for the purpose of archiving and historical look back to say what was the conversation around a topic, not just how was it voted. And so I think it's a good idea to make sure it happens. I presumed it was going to happen, but if there's any question, we need to fix it. Somebody needs to fix it.
For those committee members who are here, thank you for being here. And feel free to just shame the other committee members that weren't here so that they will come, the public. Thank you all for your ongoing diligence and apologize that we weren't able to take any action today. Hopefully we'll correct that in the next few meetings. We're adjourned.